guys, and welcome. I'm so glad that you are here, and I hope that you guys remember what we spoke about last week. Do you remember? We've kind of been journeying with the same family for quite a while, and last week we were talking about two brothers. Now they were twins, do you remember this? Esau and Jacob. And Jacob had tricked his father and taken his oldest brother's blessing and taken his inheritance. And we left off our story with Jacob running away because his brother was so angry that he wanted to kill him. Okay, have you ever been that annoyed with someone that you just want to rage and scream and throw things? Okay, so Jacob ran away and he went to go stay with his uncle Laban. Okay, now he had a good couple years there, and when I say a couple, it was probably about 20 years. Okay, a long time that he stayed there. And while he was there, he got married, actually more than once. So he had a few wives and he had children, and he had also got lots of flocks of animals, probably like goats and sheep and maybe cattle and some camels. Okay, he had a herds of animals. Okay, so he was doing pretty well for himself. Okay, even though he had to run away, that he had done something bad, he still got the blessing from his father, and God blessed him and used him, even though he'd made a mistake. Now came the time where God said, Jacob, it's time to go home. And at first he was really good with this. He was excited, maybe not excited, but he was like, okay, it's time to go home. And he started getting his family together. He got all his flocks and his animals, and he had servants, people that were helping him, and they started their long journey back home. Now, I think the closer he got home, the more he thought about, my brother was really angry when he saw me. So what is he going to be like now? Because he wanted to kill me last time. So Jacob's thinking about all these things, how his brother was so angry, and he's not sure exactly how his brother's going to respond when he gets there. So he sent a messenger ahead to go tell his brother, to go tell Esau that he was on the way. Now, when this messenger came back, he told Jacob, your brother is coming to see you, and there are 400 men coming with him. Now, I don't know about you, but if I heard that someone who was really angry with me was coming to meet me but had 400 men with them, I would maybe think that this was not going to be a happy meeting. He maybe thought that his brother was going to fight him. He was still so annoyed, and now he had all these men coming that could fight with him. So he thought, what is the best way to maybe get people to calm down, to feel a little bit better and not be as angry with you? He decided, I'm going to give my brother some gifts. So he sent him animals, and like the goats and the sheep and those kinds of things, and other gifts to try and make him feel better, to be like, okay, he's trying to pay for the things he took. Okay, he sent those ahead. And he also decided, he said, I know God had promised that my family would be blessed and there would be lots of descendants, just like he had promised Abraham and my father Isaac. So I'm going to separate everything into two groups. Okay, so the one will go this way and the other one will go that way, and then maybe if Esau attacks the one, the other one can escape, so that my family can survive, or at least most of my family and most of my possessions can still be there. So he split them all up into two groups and kept them quite separate. The one came maybe from the north or the south, and the other one from the east or the west, or where it was. They were in opposite places. Now, as he started traveling further on and he was getting closer, okay, he then kept his family completely separate to where he was. And the one night he had put them on the one side of the river, okay, and he was staying on the other side because he was like, I'm going to have to prepare for seeing my brother, and he wanted to keep them safe. So that night, Jacob was by himself, except like a man actually came up to him. And this man was actually God, okay? Now Jacob and this man started a sort of a wrestling match, okay? Now, I don't know about you, but we know that God is all-powerful, that he is almighty, he is the creator of the universe. So I wouldn't really want to get into a wrestling match with him because I will not win, okay? I wouldn't win. Jacob also didn't win, but he started wrestling with this man, and this man touched his hip, and then it must have like dislocated or something, but he then had a limp, okay? So he couldn't walk properly, he wasn't at his strongest. So this wrestling match went on all night, okay? And eventually the sun was coming up, and the man, who was God, told him to let me go, the sun is coming up. And Jacob was, no, you will not be let go. I am not going to let you leave here until you bless me. Now that sounds a little strange because Jacob had already been blessed by God, okay? He had a huge family. He had lots of flocks. He was living a pretty good life, and God was looking after him and guiding him. So even though he hadn't always made the best choices or decisions, God was always there with him. Now the man told Jacob, he said, your name will no longer be Jacob, which means deceiver. Isn't that quite a good name for Jacob? Because he deceived his brother and he deceived his father, or he deceived his father so that he could get his brother's inheritance and blessing. And so this man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but it will be Israel. And it's because you have wrestled with God. Now we can sometimes wrestle with God too. I don't mean physically wrestle with him, but when we learn new things from the Bible, when we learn things about ourselves, and we're trying to figure out how does it fit? Is there something that needs to change in me? How is God trying to change and work in me so that I can become a better person, so that I can become the person he wants me to be? So just like he did with Jacob, how he changed him and he worked in his life to make him a better person, God also does that for us. Now, back to our story. Jacob has wrestled with God, and now he has a new name, Israel, and now it was time for him to go and meet his brother. And I'm pretty sure he was still nervous, even though he had sent gifts, he had divided his family so that they could be safe, okay? Off he went to go and see his brother. So as he walked, he saw his brother coming up and the 400 men, and Jacob, Israel, started to bow as respect to his brother because he was trying to still make sure that he was being respectful and trying not to get hurt or killed because his brother was angry. But you know what happened? Esau saw him and he ran up to him and gave him a big hug. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't furious and didn't want to kill him anymore because God had also blessed him. Esau also had a big family and lots of flocks and animals and was blessed by God as well. Just as God had said to Rebekah when she was pregnant with them, that they would be two great nations that come from her. And that is what's happened. Even though Esau and Jacob, or more Jacob, messed with the plan of how things were supposed to happen, okay? God knew exactly what was going to happen, and nothing can stop God's plan. So even though it didn't turn out the way it was supposed to in the first place, God has everything in control. He knows what's going to happen, and he uses things in our life to help us to grow and to change. So Jacob and Esau had a pretty good reunion. They realized that God had blessed both of them, that they all had a great life, and Jacob continued on to live in the land where God had called him to go and live, and Esau had his family and the land where he stayed. Like I said, just as God worked in Jacob's life and changed him and also gave him a new name, his new name Israel, God does that for us as well. He works in our lives to help us to grow and to change. Sometimes it doesn't feel that great. We are used to the way something works, but God has something better in mind for us. So just like Jacob wrestled with God and didn't work out so great and had a sore hip and all of that stuff, sometimes when we're wrestling with things in our lives, it hurts a lot. But God is always there with us, and we need to remember that His plan is the best plan there is for us in our lives. So, hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next time.